Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Hello, fine folks. This is Freedom Fighter, and I'm your host of Goldilocks Global Banking News. This is where over 100 countries are subscribed, tuning in daily to obtain the facts on the RVGCR, and also thousands of subscribers around the world tuning in to receive daily facts on the RVGCR by Goldilocks. I had my morning discussion with Goldilocks, and I want to share with you where we are at in the process leading up to the shift of our quantum financial system that leads us to our exchanges. Starting next year, let's jump into it. Starting next year, banks across North America, Europe, and Asia will embark on live trials of digital assets and currency transactions over the SWIFT system. Do not allow your anxiety to go up and your antennas to go up because you hear that this is what SWIFT is going to do next year within the banks. It doesn't stop anything. It's a part of the process moving forward. Banks and asset managers have been looking at tokenizing traditional assets such as bonds for several years. Also, tokenizing of precious metals. Through the use of digital units, this is digital representations of assets. Blockchain-based tokens can represent a share of an underlying asset. Think of you have stocks and think of you have shares of that stock. This is the equivalent where, let's say, the stock is the gold, the digital unit is the share of that gold. Now you have digital units, which blockchain-based tokens can represent a share of an asset. Trading is faster, cheaper, and more efficient through the use of technology instead of using middleman or for transactions. These digital units, they differ from traditional banks in several ways. So think of the transition where most of you who may be listening to this, you may have smartphones. Isn't that digital? When you call customer service, you're speaking to sometimes not a live person, but a computer. Isn't that digital? This is the digital transformation that our banks are in the process of making. Actually, they started a while ago, years ago. But here we have more that's happening within our banks. What these digital units offers accessibility, digital focus, assisted modes, and digital literacy, which help customers to become digitally literate and raise awareness about digital banking. This is a transformation that is actually an education that is actually going on in Iraq. It's a constant education for their citizens to adopt digital banking. Here in the United States, there are some of our citizens that are not too receptive of it as well. These digital units and the education will help to that end. BASEL 3, Goldilocks is sharing, is under a new mandate. We all know October the 1st, It became law and effective in all large banks for the Basel III capital requirements. So now Goldilocks is sharing the United States is under a Basel III mandate, and the final changes known as the Basel III Endgame are expected to go into effect mid 2025. For those of you who hear that date and your anxiety goes up, no need to, because Basel III is already implemented within our banking systems. This is just the end game, which is the final touches that will be done. Basel III in 2013, the U.S. actually began implementing Basel III. Yep, 2013. A capital framework that was intended to address issues that led to global financial crisis. Basel III, folks, really was created in order to prevent another 2008 financial crisis that we went through. In 2017, the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision finalized recommendations for the Basel III Endgame, which are the final changes to Basel III. In July of 2023, the banking agencies released a proposal to implement Basel III Endgame here in the United States. That actual proposal includes changes to large bank requirements, capital requirements, and it's intended to address issues that arose in 2023 when three banks with over $100 billion in assets actually failed. The compliance date for this Basel III Endgame is July the 1st, 2025. Actually, again, on October the 1st for large banks, it became law and effective for all banks, large banks specifically around the world, to be in compliance. July 1st of next year is just the end game, whereby for those banks that haven't became compliant by July 1st of next year, and then they will no longer be able to stay in the game of the banking world. Over 90% of the banks are already compliant around the world. Europe actually begins their mandate for implementing Basel III on the 1st of January, and they have until the January 1st of 2026. The U.S., we're already ahead. This is a phased out approach in Europe, U.S., and the U.K. starting next year. It will be taking place for a few years along with tweaking capital requirements in gold and other assets during that time. Don't worry. There's no need for the event to wait until these dates that we're sharing. We're just giving you the facts of what the process entails. There isn't much information about whether the BRICS nations are Basel III compliant, but there's some information about Basel III and the BRICS nations. Basel III is a set of minimum requirements for banks that are active internationally. There's a lot of rumors and misinformation in dinar land about what Basel III actually is. It includes new capital buffer requirements that ensure banks build up enough capital reserves during good times to draw down if need be in the financial bad times and stress. BRICS nations. A study found that BRICS economies would benefit from adopting the Basel III regulations. Another study found that BRICS nations face similar challenges in managing equipment such as electrical and also waste electrical equipment that they have gaps in their management. It is important to note that Basel III will finally become a mandate beyond the U.S. The adjustments made along the way to complete Basel III requirements are expected, and adjustments will continue long after these dates. So you have to understand, these dates will come and go, the end game, and it will continue the updates. So even though it's an end game, you have to realize the beginning of it has already started on October the 1st for particular large banks. And that is why Goldilocks has shared the reset started on October the 1st for the large banks, along with SOFR, SOFR. The ISO 222 International Messaging System, ladies and gentlemen, and tokenization of assets are currently being interfaced into the security sector of the market. The security sector. You must know that the currencies that we hold, whether it's dinar, dong, or any other foreign currency, they're registered and reclassified as securities. So when you have the ISO 222 International Messaging System and tokenization of assets that are being interfaced into the security sector, that's being interfaced into the foreign currency exchange sector. This is the digital transformation of the banking system. Soon we will be witnessing international payment systems begin to integrate themselves amongst nations. The international payment systems is such as your Fed Now, such as what Iraq, Vietnam, Venezuela, and 8 other countries are on as an international payment system called UPI. They will begin to interlink eventually as the tokenization for these securities begin to commence. Goldilocks shares, according to Goldilocks' friend, who is a developer of some of these very programs that are being onboarded into the quantum financial system, this has been taking place gradually, Goldilocks' friend says, behind the scenes for quite some time. And the full effects of its final phases should begin early next year. That should be the wrap-up phase for the ISO and the international messaging system. No coincidence that Iraq said they will be finished with their final phases by the end of this year, whereby 95% of their banking reforms that actually align with these international payment systems, Iraq has already made it publicly known they're 95% complete and looking to make their shift by the end of this year. No coincidence at all. Ladies and gentlemen, be kind, be loving, be on purpose. We love you. Be well. With unconditional love. Ciao. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.